One of the favorite ways I get to start some of my days occasionally is to hang out with some of my best friends in the whole entire world. And one of those days is today because I'm hanging out with the delightful, the awesome Neen James. Hi, Neen.
G'day, gorgeous. What a treat to get to hang out. This is a very cool way to start the day.
Well, we are here on Words with Friends. So that does mean that our conversation is recorded today. And it does mean that we're going to be talking about a given word. And I'm thinking, what can I talk to Neen about? And the only thing that would spring to the very front of my mind, outside of the thousands of things that are in the back of my mind, is that we should probably talk about the word attention. And in getting ready for our conversation about attention, I've been like rooting around trying to figure out what the word actually means, getting lots of conflicting pieces of advice and conflicting definitions. So I thought I'd ask you, what does the word attention mean?
By definition, it means notice or taken care of something. And I think the word notice is so much like attention has become like this bad word, but the true definition of it is notice or taken care of.
Ooh, taking care of.
Right.
Aren't we all really good at taking care of things though?
Yeah, and just like we're all good at paying attention, right? So think about it like as kids, your parents were like, pay attention, your teachers like, pay attention. And it's kind of annoying that everyone tells us to pay attention. So I think attention as a word kind of gets a bit of a bad rap.
Okay, well, tell me some more about that. Why would that be true?
Because I think what's happened is like, think about this whole idea of attention. Like as babies, we cry, we get picked up, we learn attention super early, right? And so it's kind of, it's in our DNA, our need, our crave for attention. But because of things like social media and the fact that we have, you know, what's called vanity metrics. So it's like, oh, look at me, like selfie stick culture. And then we're like measuring how many people like my post, who retweeted it, like who commented. And what I think is happening is attention's got this bad rap where people are like, oh, she just wants attention. Like it's negative, you know?
So it kind of creates this want, me type culture. Look at me, look at me, look at me. But aren't we encouraged to crave attention? Like in our world of business, it's like, you've got to get more views, you've got to get more likes, you've got to collect more email addresses, you've got to get more eyeballs on you. We're encouraged to crave this thing. So where's the conflict in all this, or where's the resolution in the conflict?
Yes, and so as a business, you want attention for your product, your service. Like as a professional speaker, we want attention for our message so we can help change the world and the lives of the audiences we serve, right? So yes, and I think what we have to think about is if you really want attention from people, you have to actually give attention first. So I think that's the difference, is the way I see attention is, we want attention. Attention's not a bad thing, but you have to give it in order to get it. Make sense?
Okay. So even if you take that down to a very crude definition, is in the military, they talk about standing to attention, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And I guess standing to attention is you showing up or showing respect towards the other people. And then that gives you the ability to be able to earn that respect back. Is that
exactly? So think about like when you and I are chatting, if I was like on my cell phone or playing with books or like messing around, I'm not looking at you. And, you know, I think attention to me is like listening with your eyes. Ooh. So like looking at someone and giving them that undivided attention. I think undivided attention is such a gift. So in the military, they are trained to stand in place for long periods of time. Physically, mentally, standing at attention is like this choice, it's this act, right? But I think this undivided attention is listening with your eyes.
See, I find sometimes this so hard when we talk on things like this, because I'm looking at you in your eyes, but the camera is 4 inches higher, right? And I'm like, because I don't know what to do. Like, if the video is to look good, I have to look at this camera up here. But now I feel weird looking at this flat box.
I totally hear you. Yeah, no, I hear you too. So we'll just look. And then anyone who sees that, they'll be like, are they not looking at the camera? It's kind of like when you do TV stuff, right? And so the host will often say, look at me, the host. But because of our profession, we're used to looking at the camera, right? For iMag and that kind of thing. So that's kind of a little funny dynamic too, is like, where do you look? Where do you look? But I think in a conversation, whether it's your kid, whether it's your best friend, whether it's the person you share your life with, maybe it's one of your team, like look them in the eyes. That's like the safest place ever. And my mom used to say when I was little, she used to say that the eyes are the mirrors of the soul.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've always remembered that. And I think that there's something special about being able to look someone in the eyes.
Okay, that sounds great. But what about if I'm in a group full of people? What about if the fact that I'm addressing an audience? What about like, you know, in a situation where there's 6, 7 people around the table? And what happens particularly when I'm out and about a lot of the time is there's 3, 4, 5 conversations going on at once in a bigger group. Like, where should I pay attention? Because in those environments, sometimes your natural feeling is like, what about me? What about me? What about me? And there isn't one particular vein or conversation to join. What do I decide and how do I behave?
I think the best thing to do is to eliminate the distractions, number one. So like, keep your cell phone off the table. There was some research I did, and it said that if there's a cell phone on the table when you're having dinner with someone, they're less likely to trust you. Fascinating, right?
Wow.
So keeping devices out of the conversation would be the first place to start. And I also think that sometimes it's better to like shut up and actually listen than it is to talk. And so sometimes your contribution to a conversation is actually listening and being on the receiving end rather than the contributing end. So, and that is your contribution. But I think too, when there's lots of people around, I mean, for me, I probably gravitate to the people I find most interesting. Like, that's just me, right?
Right.
Or like, people fascinate me. Like, I'm intrigued by people's stories. So I want to ask like an arsenal of questions. And so for me, I think when I'm kind of in a conversation, I'm going to say, I also am the person who wants to act like the hostess.
Right.
So I'm going to ask the person who's like, oh, look at me, look at me. I'm going to include them in the conversation because I feel bad for people when they're kind of all by themselves. Even though some people love to be by themselves. I'm the person, probably like you want to bring them into the conversation. So I think one of our roles can be, if we see someone who's like not involved, is like give them the attention, say, tell me a little bit about you or what's interesting to you. Like, act like the host or the hostess.
Okay. So when you talk about attention being almost caring or taking care of something, the same is with people, right? It's that if you see somebody that looks like they're requiring something, take care of it, polish it, nurture it, love it.
Yeah, I think that there's something that I talk about, and that is that personal attention is about being thoughtful, not thoughtless.
Okay.
So being thoughtful is using your barista's name when they make your coffee, looking at your server when they clear your plate, thanking the security guard for letting you in, making sure you're off your phone when you go through the checkout line. Paying attention and being thoughtful is what I think personal attention is all about. It could be writing a note to a friend to say, hey, thanks for helping me out. We have lost this ability to constantly be thoughtful, and we're operating on this society of being thoughtless. We're just moving. We're so busy. We're so distracted. We're always on our devices. And those little tiny moments of kindness mean the world to somebody.
Right. Now, what are your thoughts, though, around this almost vicious irony in the fact that people are craving attention for the purpose of not giving attention? So, for example, 5 a.m. club, hustle and grind. I was in the office by myself till this glamorization towards elements of entrepreneurship that are making people think I need to be more like that. What are your thoughts around that?
I think it's exhausting. And, if you're showing off like, oh, look at me, it's 5 o'clock and like 5 a.m. and I'm doing that, you got to sort of ask yourself, like, whose attention do you really need? Whose validation do you really need?
Right.
And I think for me, I want my clients to know that I'm walking my talk. Now, that would not be congruent if I was like, oh, by the way, I was up till like 2 a.m. trying to answer email. Sort of not congruent with my personal brand, right? And so I think you've also got to think about, what message does that send? Is it sending a message that you're in control or that you're out of control? Right. Okay. And so like when people send emails, and some of my corporate clients do this, they send emails at bizarre times of day and night so they look like they're working. Well, that doesn't actually prove to me that you're in control of your situation. Another pet peeve of mine is like my corporate clients, they eat lunch at their desk. Well, when you do that, you look totally out of control. Like, you look like I'm a leader who just can't even manage like 10, 15 minutes to eat a sandwich. And so I think what's happening is people get this negative attention through things they're like trying to look like they keep multitasking and they're in control. But what they actually look like is totally out of control, and they look like a bad leader. So I think we got to think about all of those things that we're doing that are not necessarily giving us the attention we want.
Right. Now, when we're giving attention, though, I don't know about you, sometimes I feel at risk or vulnerable sometimes. Like if I do something in one direction to give attention, if I'm then not consistent with that level of attention through other people that I perhaps care about at the same level, that I risk letting somebody down. And an example in my world is like people's birthdays, for example. Like I know thousands of people, and I would love to give everybody the attention that I would love to be able to give them in those moments. But I know for certain I'm going to mess something up, even if messing it up is even my own mother. Like, and that's like a fearful thing to me. Is that like a common thing that other people feel fearful in the same way?
No, I think that you're wired in a way that you want people to feel like they're the most important to you. You and I are wired very similar, right? But I think too, people, my husband points this out to me a lot. People have different perceptions of what our relationships are with them, right? And social media, when you have a public profile, people believe that they have a right to you because they are accessing your social media feed. And so they're seeing the intricacies of whatever you decide to post about your life. So I think there's different ways to do it. I think for me, for example, if someone has a birthday and I really love them, and if I see Facebook reminds me it's their birthday, which is unfortunately my reality, I will like shoot a little video and text it to them. So if I have your cell phone number, then you are important to me, and then I can show you that attention. Do I screw it up all the time? Yeah. Do I forget? Absolutely. But that's why they have belated birthday cards, and that's why I can send a "I'm so sorry" kind of text message. But I think the other thing is that, you know, my husband pointed this out to me one time. We came home from a party and he said to me, "You were so rude." Let's say it was you. "You were so rude to Phil Jones." And I was like, "I didn't say a thing to Phil Jones all night." And he was like, "That's my point." Because I'm so affectionate and I'm very animated, and if I love you, I really love you. Like, you know that I really love you. But if I don't like you, or there's something about you that I'm like, ugh, it's just better that I stay away. It's even more noticeable. Right. Does that make sense to you? So there's
that contrast, right?
Yes. And so I have to be super diligent about being kind all the time, even if I don't particularly enjoy your opinions or the way you show up in the world, because it's so noticeable. So I think for some people, like in my case, I have to be super careful, especially at like industry conferences and things like that, where everyone feels like they want to see you and hug you and talk to you, and it can be kind of a little overwhelming.
Right. So I think, you know, if I'm to try and summarize a lesson out of what we've just shared there as well, is sometimes it's worth shifting up the level of communication too. Like you mentioned that you get a notification on Facebook that it's somebody's birthday. Don't jump to join everybody else on the wall and add the comment. But equally, don't do what Neen said and record a video and send that on text message and say that's the thing you should do. The lesson in it is to think differently and do something that's a version of you that says, I caught this and I care. Yes. And that I have some heart in this, and that it's intentional, not just copy somebody else's cookie cutter process. And the challenge with Facebook, like people, they're so lazy. It's like HBD. They can't even write happy birthday. Like that's not a thing. That's not thoughtfulness. That's just like, that's stupid. So don't do that. Like, I think that when people, when they zig, I want to zag. So if people are all posting on a Facebook wall, I want to do something different. I still send physical thank you notes. I still send physical birthday cards. I think there's something about lumpy mail, like when you get a parcel. I love getting a parcel. And so I think if you're thinking of ways to do things differently, there are so many alternatives to the regular digital world that analog systems get attention, because no one does that anymore. And so think about, instead of an email, could you record a voicemail? Could you record a video message? Do things different. No, I hear you completely. And Neen, my connection's just come a little unstable at this end. Is everything good at your end? It is, but I thought I heard myself again. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to hope that that's all good, and I can maybe retune that little piece out if needs be. But if not, we're just going to roll and pretend it didn't exist. Another thing on that, though, is LinkedIn is crazy, right? I have 6 different companies that I own, which means I have 6 different anniversaries, which means that every time every one of my companies comes around to an anniversary, and I have like 15,000 connections. So what do I get? I get an inbox full of congrats. And I don't want to turn off notifications, because sometimes there's a notification that is beneficial to me. But equally, I know that on at least 6 times a year, 6 days a year, my inbox is going to fill up with a load of stuff that is unnecessary. And that lack of sincerity actually ends up having an adverse effect on me as a human. That's where I end up feeling like you didn't really care. You saw something and you clicked a button to pretend that you care, or to give the appearance of caring, but it isn't caring. That's my feeling on it.
that automated thoughtfulness, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it grows relationships. I turned off every notification because it was overwhelming for me. I remember one birthday and my inbox was just flooded, and it was kindness and people meant to show that they had paid attention, but like you say, it has a different kind of reaction. So the way that I manage it is I go into LinkedIn twice a day, and that's the only way I can manage the actual messages. So.
Right. Now, I remember when I was a kid once, I decided to sponsor a dolphin, like across in a place somewhere, and I put all my pocket money into sponsoring the dolphin. And what the dolphin would do is on my birthday would send me a birthday card, right? That's what part of the sponsorship package was. I'm like, cool. And then I opened the card up on my first birthday from sponsoring the dolphin, and I realized it wasn't the real dolphin signature. It was printed inside. And it made me realize I possibly wasn't the only person that sponsored this dolphin. And I decided to no longer sponsor the dolphin.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's this sincerity that needs to be laced into it, right? I think that's sometimes what the missing word is inattention. And sincerity gets confused. I was just digging around a little on attention, and Charlie Puth wrote a song called Attention, right? I'm sure that you're aware of it. And there's a line in it says that you just want attention. You just want attention. You don't want my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I hear and I see and I look at the ways that you drive attention and that you pay attention and that you give attention, and everything I see in that is heart. Mm-hmm. And then I look at that line in the song that, is just a line in the song, but it creates a conflict again for me, is to say that to pay attention the right kind of way, you have to care. If you care, you have to love in some way, maybe not in a physical, sexual kind of way of love, but in a true level of care, which would indicate there's some heart in it. But I wonder where there is, if you apply too much logic to this, then you lose sincerity. If you apply too much heart, then you leave yourself vulnerable. Where's the space in the middle?
I think the vulnerable is the key here, though.
Okay.
Yeah, if you put yourself out there, you have to be prepared to also not receive that back. You can't give just thinking, oh, I'm going to get all this back. I think part of it is, there's this concept I talk about of standing in service. So when I speak, I stand in service of the room of people. Whoever's there is there. Right. My job is just to stand in service of them. Attention is the same. When you stand in service of someone and you're giving them the attention, they may not give anything back.
Okay.
That's the risk you take. But I think there's something that also happens to the point in that song, and that is we all crave attention. We don't even need a lot of attention, but we need it from someone who's important to us. And if we don't get it from someone who's important to us, we'll go find it somewhere else. Whether it's on social media, whether it's in groups, whether it's affairs, whether it's whatever it is, right? And so we have this need, and I think what this is a reminder for is if you have people in your life, they need your attention. That's it. Right. That's our responsibility. Is it vulnerable? Sure. Is it tough? Sure. How many people have gone through relationship challenges? How many people have fallen in love and then out of love? You know how this feels.
Right. So we've talked about giving attention, but you wrote a book called Attention Pays. Mm-hmm. And that would give me a belief that if we are to put our attention out there, there is some form of benefit or return from being able to do so. How does that pay out?
If you're a company, attention pays because if your clients love you and think of you as top of mind, they keep coming back. If you're a company, you can attract and retain the top talent. So you get the attention of that top talent and you can keep them there because they want to be part of an employer of choice. If you think about it as entrepreneurs, if you're building a brand around your product or service, then if you're giving attention to the clients and you're getting the right kind of attention, you're going to grow your practice. It also pays when you think about the relationships because you have the depth of relationship with your friend, with your partner, with your children. I think it also pays in a way that if you have a great relationship with someone and there's really great attention, you feel more accountable. You have more integrity, right? So there's so many payment terms when it comes to attention.
Okay. So what should I be doing, right? If I'm me or I'm anybody else listening into our conversation right now, what might be some things that I can take immediate action on that give me the ability to take this seriously enough and put it into practice? I know we've talked about device management and those things, but outside of that, what else?
I think the one thing that I would remind everyone to think about is listen with your eyes, which means in a conversation, actually giving someone your undivided attention. On a teleconference, it means eliminating and not answering your email while you're on a teleconference. Maybe it means converting some of your calls to Zoom calls or to video or FaceTime so you can see people. Maybe it means that when you walk into your house at night, you have a conversation with someone as opposed to turning on the television or, putting away your cell phone. Maybe it means too that you go offline for a little while. So maybe you have a no policy email on a Sunday so you can pay attention to people you're with. I think there's a lot of simple things we can do. Yesterday I drove to a client. It was a 2.5-hour drive. It was a beautiful day. It was along the water, so it was stunning. I decided I scheduled no calls. I played no music. I had no podcasts on. And all I did was pay attention to the road and the view and getting ready for this presentation I was doing for this client. Normally, I would schedule calls, listen to podcasts. I would be trying to do everything I could to maximize the 2.5-hour drive. But when I got there, I felt so much more calm. I had such a great time with my client. We had such an amazing opportunity together. And I think what happens is we're so used to stacking everything up, booking meetings, scheduling time, listening, training, doing everything we can. And sometimes in the quietness of those moments, it allows us to pay attention deeply. And that was really important to me. So I think sometimes we have to break out of our routine if we want to pay attention in a different way.
Right. No, okay. And that echoes to a piece of advice I got way earlier in my career from an early mentor of mine, a guy called Nigel Risner, who's another speaker on the circuit. And Nigel would say that when you're in the room, be in the room.
Yes.
Which just made huge sense to me. It's like, if I'm, in a conversation with my family, that's the room I need to be in, not thinking about work while I'm there. If I'm with clients, then I shouldn't be thinking about tomorrow's clients or the things that I need to do that evening or what's for dinner. It's like, it should be very precise and purposeful that your mind and your heart and your spirit should be in the same room that you are in your physical presence.
And Nigel's so smart, and it takes practice and it takes systems. So I don't check email when I'm with a client. It's very deliberate. So I don't take my mind somewhere else. But so that actually takes a little bit of discipline, but it also means I have to have an out of office message on my email. I have to have one of my team checking to make sure nothing's happening. And so it's very tempting to constantly be connected. It's very tempting to have multiple conversations. It's very tempting because we think it's multitasking, which is so not productive, but we're not paying attention to your point about when you're in the room, be in the room. When you're in a conversation, be in the conversation.
See, another definition of the word attention is the power of mental concentration. Mm-hmm. So it's this, I'm paying attention to something. Isn't it exhausting?
Yes and no. Like, it's exhausting if you're splitting your attention everywhere and you're trying to do 5 things at once because your poor brain can't focus and can't complete. So our brains have this craving for completion. Scott Halford wrote a really great book called Activate Your Brain. And in the brain, he talks about that every time you complete something, cross it off, your brain gets like this little shot of dopamine, like high five, yay, you, right? Every time you ask your brain to do something, you're opening a new tab, like it's opening a new tab on your computer. Our brains are like crazy, and paying attention, yes, it can be exhausting, but we make it worse because we split our attention across all these things. There's this amazing sense of completion when we pay attention to something, cross it off and put it away. That feels so good.
I love that. And something I took a purposeful thing to do myself is through my career. Obviously I've grown in connections, and my Facebook friends list has hit limits and all of those kind of things that often happen. And instead of saying, well, what do I do now in terms of opening something up? I went the other way and I had what I call a life laundry, which was, who do I really want to keep? Like if you're sorting through your clothes, it's like, no, like you were great in the day and I had huge fun wearing you, but you're not today, you're not tomorrow, and you're probably not the future unless all of a sudden the fashion changes. And I removed a number of people from my friends list on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I heavily reduced the number of people that I follow on Twitter. I went through my Instagram and took it down to like 160 people. And guess what? I enjoy it again.
Yes, that's so true. It's so true. Just on Sunday, we had a drive back and I said to my husband, I should really address this whole Facebook thing. And so I am in a situation where, because like you, people want to friend you on Facebook, right?
Right.
And that's lovely. And it's a very kind compliment. And I had something like 300 Facebook requests, and I felt really bad. And if I didn't like instantly know you from my circle, I said, Danny, I think I should just delete them. And so that's all I did. I just sat there and like deleted them. But at the end, I felt lighter.
Right. And it's not that you don't care about those people or that you don't have interest.
No.
It's you have to be able to say, this is where my intention is set. Yeah. And one of the things that I love about the premise of everything in Attention Pay is it's intentional attention. It's not just attention. It's purposeful. It's a choice. Right. It's a decision. It's a commitment.
Yes.
And we can only follow so many commitments if we want to do attention correctly.
And platforms are classic. Like Instagram, I follow like less than 50 people. And the reason is I literally follow them. I look at their I see their stories, right? Because I want to, right? And so it's not about numbers for me. It's about, these are people that, and I love Instagram because it's not polluted. There's not the crazy town of Facebook. And with Facebook, I actually installed the Facebook feed eradicator. So literally when I go to Facebook, there is no feed. Like I have to type your name in to see what's happening in your life. And so my husband will say, did you know your friend ran a marathon? I'll be like, oh, should probably go congratulate them. Like, and so I think we have to decide, where do we want to spend our attention? What are the best platforms? What are the best ways to do it? Like you and I, we will have a phone conversation rather than just back and forth all the time. So you're really great about that kind of personal touch point. Now, a phone call is considered a personal touch now. That's crazy because we're living in this digital world, right? Where everyone's texting or emailing or Facebook messaging. So there's something really cool about just being able to have a chat, and it saves probably 15 different messages.
And I guess there's something here as well as letting people in early in what's happening in your life too, is that if you want somebody to care, then involve them in the process earlier. It's very easy today to say, well, I've posted it, so therefore I've told everybody that this important thing has happened in my life, right?
Yeah.
And I made a conscious decision with Charlotte and I getting married that there would be no social media presence at the wedding. There would be no photos being shared. There would be no phones present. That this was if you're there, it was a very small group full of people. And it created a level of connection and friendship at that moment that now means that what I see is through my social media, I see people that I would have never imagined being friends, that from my kind of tight circle, from two polar extremes of it, now engaging in conversation on each other's walls with a level of care, understanding and awareness towards each other that I don't think would have happened if their heads was in the phone. So controlling this stuff is important, isn't it? It's like having rules around it and then standing by it.
And telling people what the rules are. When I did my MBA way before social media, I remember I was working full time doing my MBA. And so I said to all my girlfriends, keep inviting me to everything. I won't come because I'm literally like a crazy person. But don't stop inviting me, because as soon as I sit my exams, I want to go out. I want to see you. But if you stop inviting me because I keep saying no, then I'm going to feel like I'm left out. But I love you all dearly. But at the beginning of my study, I said to them, I'm going to be a lunatic. Here's what's happening. And so like my best friend now, I don't get to see her as much as I would love to. But if I just text her, my goddaughter, her name is Ava. And Ava, when she was like, I think she was like 3 or 4. And she was like, Aunt Neen, I'm so tired. So if I text my best friend, I'm so tired, it's code for, oh my God, I'm exhausted.
I love it.
And that's all I text is, I'm so tired. And it's like our code language where she's like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? And we need these kind of guidelines and rules with people who are really important to us. Like, I miss you. I'm really tired. I want to see you. But I think it's that connection, and it's that authentic connection as well.
Yeah. And being brave enough to set those rules up in the first place. That's what I'm hearing there is you reaching out to all of your friends ahead of time saying, I do care. I do want to hang out. I do want to spend time with you. And now's not the right time. Yeah. Means that they go from thinking, why is Neen ignoring us? To good for Neen. Good luck with her MBA. I wonder if there's anything I can do to help. So it changes the other way people treat you when they know what's going on.
We also need to think about this. I've learned there are certain events in my year that can be a little overwhelming, where a lot of people that I love are in one place. And what I've learned is that if I reach out in advance to people I really want to spend time with, sometimes booking that one-on-one breakfast, or having that, like, just allocating time for a drink, or scheduling time where you can slip away from the masses so you can have that real connection where you might only see people once a year. Yeah. And then there's other times where you go to the bar and everybody's around and you get the chance to see everyone. But I think we have to be very deliberate. If we know there's going to be a situation where we might be overwhelmed, is plan in advance.
So smart. And you just made me even think, is tonight I'm going to a dinner with 12 people that you know, most of them as well. In fact, I'm heading out to Toronto for an event and catching some other speaker friends on the road that is setting something up ahead of time. But I don't know where I'm going to sit on that table. And there are 3 people I'd like to have some meaningful conversations with. So I might reach out to them today and say, hey, why don't we look to sit side by side and catch up on that thing we've been meaning to?
Perfect. And that way too, you get those moments. I've learned at my industry conference to meet someone for a walk or have breakfast or meet them at the gym or plan to sit together at a meal or go to a session together. And those little tiny moments, you just get that connection point. And I think that's really important, especially too, when we are surrounded by people. We care about everybody, but there's some people you might be missing or you want to have a special conversation with, you know?
I'm getting the feeling from this conversation that this is a big deal. Like the ability to pay more attention and the rewards that it brings for life, even just talking to you about it, I feel better. So what might be a mantra or thought process or a question or a conversation to self that anybody listening to our conversation right now might be able to just give themselves the ability to check in with themselves on this, or to respond, to make sure that they're not running in the wrong direction?
You know, there's kind of 3 things, but the first thing I would say is, who deserves my attention right now?
Okay.
And it brings you back to the moment. It's the who question. So who deserves my attention right now? That's the personal attention. Yep. And then maybe another question, if you're trying to get some work done, is what deserves my attention right now? So it's like the who deserves my attention is personal and what deserves my attention is professional, right? So if you can think constantly about who deserves my attention right now, and the key word here too is who, but another thing is deserves. There's lots of things that want your attention, but what deserves your attention? Who deserves your attention? Right?
Okay. And that deserves word is critical there, isn't it?
Yeah, words with friends.
Okay. And just one almost final question on this whole attention piece here is, you say who deserves. Often what happens is it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. Mm-hmm. So we find ourselves jumping to the attention of a problem or something that is shouting loudest or somebody that is craving it from us. Like, what do we do to control that? Because I know for me, that can be one of the biggest distractions. Somebody needs help. Aha! I want to go help, right? That's just like my nature. Yeah. How do we just provide some discipline around that?
You know, I think it's systems. I think systems create freedom. Let me tell you about a silly system. I got a cell phone cover that actually closes my phone so you can't see it, right? That's a system in my world, which means I don't see what's going on unless I open it. So the discipline of like not opening it is a system, right? It's also about, I've turned off every notification, every bell, whistle, sound. My phone is literally set to silent the whole time. So I think what it's about is having systems to manage that when I want to get my email, I have to push it on my phone to say, go find my email for me, instead of, you know, there being 20 little unread notifications. So I think systems are important. And I also think too that systems, things like, you know, when you get in your car and you put your cell phone away so you can focus on the road, or when you sit down and have a conversation with someone, it's the system of making sure that you say, hey, let's make sure in the next 30 minutes we get the chance to connect on these things. I think systems create freedom. So that's what I would say. I think it's the systems that are important.
And I see you be a product of that product so much as well. It's just kind of lit me up a little on just remembering your out of office replies and your voicemails. It is the dedication that you make to say, well, okay, I'm not going to be picking up my phone today, but I'm going to pay attention enough to recording a 30-second voicemail that makes me, the recipient, feel still valued, in that I haven't bumped into something generic. And the same with an out of office email. I'm like sometimes I want to email you just to find out what you chose to wrote as your out of office.
So many clients who do that. They're like, we we know you're on vacation, but we wanted to see what you would say. And I change my out of office almost daily because I want people to know I see and I received it. But here's my reality. Like my reality is yesterday I was with a client for nearly 6 hours, then I'm not going to check anything. And I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you, but at least a bounce back says, hey, I see you. And this is the thing, Phil, attention, people just want to be seen and they want to be heard. That's it. And I never want anyone to feel invisible. And that's what's driving so much of my work is I want people to feel seen and heard.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I want people to see and I want people to hear is your book, In Attention Pays, and to find out more about some of the great stuff that you do on an individual basis. So where do people find out more about Neen James? Where do they find out how you might be able to help them?
My website's going to be the easiest place, neenjames.com. And then you can have all the links to the books. You can obviously find Attention Pays on Amazon and all your favorite places where books are sold.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Neen, there's one question I ask everybody on Words with Friends, and people don't know about this ahead of time, so I'm going to throw you directly under the bus and see what you come up with in an improvised fashion. Is I want to know, what is your favorite word and why?
I think my favorite word is probably amazing. And here's why. But I spell it differently. So I had it tattooed on my wrist. And the way I spell it is AH-amazing, because I want to be every day like, that's amazing. So I think my favorite word is probably amazing.
Okay. Love it. Love it. And is there any more on the why on that?
On the what?
On the why?
On why it's such a cool word for me? It's kind of like I have this visual of like this little child who like their little eyes open, they're like, oh my God, when they see something for the first time. That's how I want to go through life. I want to go through life with like awe and wonder. I think wonder is another word that I love. And that's what I kind of associate with amazing. And so for me, this tattoo is to remind myself every day to look for things, to have this wonder about the world, to be curious. That's why that's such a daily reminder.
Got it. Love it. Neen, I think my time here is done. I need to pay attention to the rest of your schedule. And I want to say thank you for talking attention. But more importantly, thank you for being such a wonderful friend.
What a privilege. This was so fun. I love what you're doing in the world. This is really cool. I love that words make such an impact and you're sharing with the world how to do that.